The Grand Council's vessel, Harmonious Accord, floated silently above the blue-green planet. Through the wide viewing window, Commander Deho watched the world turn slowly beneath them. His four-fingered hand tapped against the control panel as he studied the data. Water levels optimal. Oxygen levels perfect. Plant and animal life abundant, reported Science Officer Jiwoo, her silver eyes widening with excitement. Commander, I believe we have found something very rare. In the 300 years since the Council began mapping habitable worlds, they had discovered thousands of planets where life could survive. They ranked each world on a scale. Death worlds were the worst, planets where even the air might kill you. Paradise worlds were the best, perfect places where any species could live easily. Could it really be? Deho asked, his voice barely above a whisper. All signs point to a paradise-class world, Jiwoo confirmed. The 15th we have ever found. The news spread quickly through the ship. A paradise world was a major discovery. Council members would compete for settlement rights. The crew who found such a world would receive great honors. Prepare the first contact team, Commander Deho ordered. We must confirm these readings on the surface. Diplomat Hana led the 12-member team. She had made first contact with 17 different species during her career. This mission should be simple. Meet the primitive natives, establish basic communication, and collect samples. The team's shuttle landed in a quiet area the natives called New Zealand. The air tasted sweet as they removed their masks. Birds sang in nearby trees. Small white clouds drifted across a perfect blue sky. Paradise indeed, whispered Security Officer Minho as he scanned the area. The natives appear peaceful enough. Through their observation equipment, they had been watching the humans for several days. They walked on two legs, built simple structures, and seemed to communicate with vocal sounds. Nothing unusual. The first sign of trouble came when biologist Taman examined a small flowering plant. He touched a yellow center and brought his finger to his nose, following standard sampling procedure. Interesting fragrance, he noted. Minutes later, he collapsed to the ground, his breathing ragged. Taman! Hana rushed to his side. Medical kit now! Before the medical officer could reach them, Taman's throat had swollen shut. His skin turned purple. Despite emergency treatment, he died within minutes. The team was stunned. How could a simple plant on a paradise world cause such a reaction? Before they could process what happened, Navigator Yunha began coughing violently. Something in the air. She gasped. Can't breathe. 2 more team members fell sick within the hour. As the team scrambled to help their colleagues, they noticed something strange. Humans walked nearby, completely unaffected by the plant life and air that was killing the visitors. This makes no sense, Medical Officer Sunwoo said as he tried to save Yuna. Their bodies should react similarly to these toxins. When a small flying insect landed on Minho's arm and bit him, no one thought much of it. Small bites were common on new worlds. But within 20 minutes, Minho's arm had swollen to twice its normal size. His heart rate dropped dangerously. We need to leave now, Hana ordered as Minho lost consciousness. Something is very wrong with this planet. By the time they reached the shuttle, 6 team members were dead or dying. The survivors barely managed to launch the craft back to the main ship. In the safety of the Harmonious Accord, Commander Deho stared at the bodies of his crew members. He couldn't understand what had happened. Our readings must be wrong, he insisted. No paradise world could harbor such dangers. Science Officer Jiwoo reviewed the data again. The readings are correct, Commander. For the parameters we measure, the planet is perfect. Then how do you explain this? Deho gestured at the dead crew members. Jiwoo's voice was quiet when she answered. What if our classification system is flawed? What if what's paradise for one species is deadly for another? They watched through the ship's cameras as humans on the planet below went about their day. Children played near the same plants that had killed Taman. Adults breathed deeply of the air that had suffocated Yuna. Someone swatted casually at the same type of insect that had killed Minho. The humans, Deho realized with growing unease. They don't just survive there, they thrive there. Which means, Jiwoo continued his thought, what we consider perfect conditions might be completely wrong. Or the humans are much more dangerous than they appear. Daeho finished. The commander made his decision. Send an emergency transmission to the council. Earth requires immediate quarantine and reclassification. This is no paradise world. At at least not for anyone but humans. Professor Jisung watched the human through triple thick glass. His protective suit felt heavy and hot, but he wouldn't risk removing it. Not after what happened to the first contact team. The human, a researcher named Kevin Carter, sat comfortably in the examination room. He sipped from a steaming cup of dark liquid. What did you call that drink again? Professor Jisung asked through the communication system. Coffee, Kevin replied with a smile. Would you like to try some? Assistant Yuna checked her instruments and gasped. Professor, that liquid contains high levels of caffeine. It's a neurotoxin. Yes, Kevin nodded. About 95 milligrams in this cup. Helps me wake up in the morning. Professor Jisung and Yuna exchanged worried glances. Caffeine in such concentrations would kill most council species within minutes, yet humans consumed it daily for pleasure. And you said this is a mild stimulant for humans? Jisung asked carefully. Exactly. Some people drink 5 or 6 cups a day. Yuna made notes rapidly on her tablet. This was just the latest in a growing list of human anomalies that defied explanation. Yesterday they had observed humans eating foods containing capsaicin, a chemical that triggered pain receptors. The humans called these foods spicy and appeared to enjoy the burning sensation. Their pain response system seems rewired for pleasure in certain contexts, Yuna had noted in her report. Now, in a nearby research room, biologist Kyung was documenting another strange human practice. You deliberately expose your skin to solar radiation? Kyung asked the human woman as she explained the concept of sunbathing. Yes, it helps our bodies produce vitamin D, she answered. Plus, many humans like having tanned skin. Even though this causes cellular damage? Kyung couldn't hide his shock. Well, that's why we use sunscreen, she replied, as if that explained everything. Back at council headquarters, Admiral Suho reviewed these findings with growing concern. The initial classification of Earth as a paradise world had clearly been a mistake. But what category could possibly fit a planet where the dominant species voluntarily consumed toxins and radiation? Show me the recreational activities report, he ordered his assistant. The holographic display filled with images that made Admiral Suho's scales pale. Humans jumping from high places with fabric chutes, diving into deep water with minimal breathing equipment, climbing frozen mountains without protective gear, racing at high speeds in metal vehicles. They call this fun? He asked incredulously. Yes, Admiral. And these activities cause thousands of human deaths annually. Yet they continue. Them. Admiral Suho closed the file. Their entire planet is filled with dangers, microorganisms, weather extremes, predatory animals, plate tectonics causing earthquakes. How do they survive? Their medical records suggest they're incredibly resilient. His assistant replied, broken bones heal, torn skin repairs itself. They recover from most viral and bacterial infections without intervention. The debate about Earth's classification grew intense. Some council members insisted it must be a death world, a planet so hostile that only the most aggressive life forms could evolve there. Others argued Earth deserved its own category. The term human-type world began appearing in scientific journals. The real shock came when the first human delegation arrived at Central Station. Wearing minimal protective gear, they moved through areas that council engineers had considered perfectly safe. Yet these environments presented countless dangers to humans. At one point, a human diplomat named Anna casually picked up a decorative crystal that contained trace elements toxic to most species. Several council members gasped in horror. Oh, I'm sorry, Anna said, putting the crystal down. Is this valuable? It's radiating elements that should be burning your skin, whispered. Ambassador Dongmin. Anna looked at her hand, then shrugged. Feels fine to me. In their assigned quarters, the humans complained about the temperature, too cold, the gravity, too light, and the air, too thin. The very conditions that most council species found ideal were uncomfortable for humans. They evolved on a death world, Security Director Hunsick concluded in his report. But they don't know it. They think their lethal environment is normal. This realization sent waves of unease through council leadership. If humans considered Earth hospitable, what did that suggest about their physical capabilities, their potential threat level? Earth must be quarantined immediately, Admiral Suho announced. Classify it as a potential death world, pending further study. That evening, as Professor Jisung prepared to end his observation shift, he noticed Kevin Carter opening a small container. "What's that?" he asked cautiously. "Chocolate," Kevin replied, breaking off a piece. "Want some? It's delicious." Professor Jisung checked his scanner. The food contained theobromine, another compound toxic to most council species. "No thank you," he replied politely, hiding his horror. "Perhaps another time." As Kevin happily ate the poison, Professor Jisung wondered what other surprises these remarkable humans might reveal, and whether the galaxy was ready for them. "I still don't understand why everyone's so nervous around me," Human Ambassador Raj Singh said as he stretched comfortably in the low-gravity lounge of Proxima Station. The artificial lighting flickered slightly overhead, casting soft shadows across his relaxed face. Ambassador Jinwoo watched with concern as the human casually reached out and touched the metallic railing with his bare hand. "Please use protective gloves, Ambassador Singh. That alloy contains trace elements that could harm you." Singh pulled his hand back, looking at his unblemished skin with confusion. "Oh, sorry about that. It feels perfectly fine to me." He smiled, apologetically. "I keep forgetting how different our bodies are." 6 months had passed since the Council approved a limited exchange program between Earth and other worlds. The decision had been controversial. Many Council species feared allowing humans beyond their quarantined planet. Others argued that controlled exposure was the only way to truly understand this unusual species. Now, 30 human students lived and studied on various Council worlds, while a similar number of brave alien scientists endured Earth's harsh conditions. The results were troubling. Human students not only survived on worlds classified as harsh by Council standards, they thrived. Meanwhile, every alien researcher on Earth required regular medical treatment despite extensive protective measures. "Have you reviewed the latest report from Earth Station?" Jinwoo asked, taking a seat across from Singh. "The one about your researcher who broke out in hives after touching a cat?" Singh nodded. "Unfortunate, but these things happen with interspecies contact." Jinwoo's voice lowered. "That was the 4th allergic reaction this week. 2 researchers have already requested evacuation." Before Singh could respond, alarms blared throughout the station. A computerized voice calmly announced, "Warning, pressure loss detected in Section 12. All personnel evacuate immediately." Jinwoo's eyes widened in terror. "That's the human engineering section." Both ambassadors rushed toward the emergency area. Council security officers had already sealed off the corridor leading to Section 12. Through the viewport, they could see that part of the outer wall had failed. The room was exposed to the vacuum of space. "Is anyone inside?" Singh demanded. Human engineer Maria Lopez was working alone, a security officer replied grimly. "We've lost contact. Rescue teams are suiting up now." Ambassador Singh's face paled. "How long since the breach?" "Almost 2 minutes." Jinwoo placed a comforting hand on Singh's shoulder. "I'm sorry. No one could survive that long in vacuum." Just then, the emergency airlock at the far end of Section 12 activated. Everyone watched in disbelief as Maria Lopez dragged herself into the small chamber. Her face was swollen and splotched with purple marks. Ice crystals clung to her hair. But she was conscious enough to hit the repressurization button. "Impossible," whispered Jinwoo. 3 hours later in the medical bay, Lopez sat upright on an examination table while Council doctors studied her with a mixture of awe and horror. "You should be dead," stated Chief Medical Officer Salman bluntly. Lopez, shrugged, then winced at the movement. Vacuum exposure protocol. We're trained to exhale completely, protect the eyes, and stay calm. The human body can handle about 90 seconds without permanent damage. I pushed it to almost 2 minutes. You were trained for this? Jinwoo asked incredulously. Basic safety for space work, Lopez replied. Doesn't everyone do that? That evening, Security Director Hyunsik called an emergency meeting with Admiral Suho. The vacuum incident changes everything, Hyunsik said, pacing the secure conference room. These humans aren't just hardy, they're practically indestructible by our standards. Admiral Suho studied the medical report. Multiple burst blood vessels, tissue swelling, partial lung collapse, and she walked away from it. With all due respect, Admiral, we need to reconsider the exchange program. What if humans aren't the peaceful species they appear to be? You're suggesting they pose a threat? Hyunsik chose his words carefully. I'm suggesting that any species evolved to survive on a death world possesses inherent advantages in conflict scenarios. They recover from injuries that would kill us. They tolerate environmental conditions that incapacitate our strongest warriors. They've shown no hostile intentions, Suho reminded him. Not yet, Hyunsik agreed. But history teaches us to prepare for all possibilities. Later that week, xenopsychologist Soman interviewed dozens of human exchange students. Her conclusion troubled the council even more. They truly don't realize how extraordinary they are, she reported. To them, we seem impossibly fragile. They treat us like delicate glass figurines that might break at any moment. One human student had summarized it perfectly. It's like you evolved in perfect safety while we evolved surrounded by things trying to kill us. Meanwhile, on Earth, Council observer Junho reported from his hermetically sealed habitat in the region called Australia. Today I witnessed a human child fall from a considerable height, sustain a bleeding wound, cry briefly, then continue playing. He reported with disbelief. The parent applied minimal first aid and showed no particular concern. This resilience appears to be normal for the species. As reports continued flowing from both sides of the exchange program, the Council quietly began developing new protocols for human interaction. Military strategists ran simulations assuming humans as both allies and potential adversaries. They don't even realize they're terrifying, Ambassador Jinwoo confided to Admiral Suho after another meeting with Raj Singh. And somehow that makes them even more frightening. The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council hummed with quiet conversation as delegates from 87 worlds gathered for what should have been a simple administrative procedure. Today, after months of debate, Earth would officially be reclassified in the Galactic Registry. Senior classifier Jae-hyun stood behind the podium, reviewing his notes one final time. His green skin looked paler than usual under the bright lights. This reclassification was unprecedented. Never before had a world moved from potential paradise status to Class 5 Death World in a single adjustment. The session will now begin, announced the council speaker. The room fell silent. Distinguished representatives, Jae-hyun began. Based on extensive research and field reports, the Classification Committee recommends Earth be designated a Class 5 Death World, effective immediately. A murmur rippled through the assembly. Class 5 was reserved for the most dangerous planets in known space. Worlds where 99.8% of council species would perish without extreme protective measures. Does any representative wish to challenge this designation? The speaker asked, following procedure. To everyone's surprise, a figure rose from the guest section. Human Representative Elena Gonzalez had not been invited to speak, as council officials assumed humans would find the designation insulting. With respect, Elena said, her voice clear and confident, I wish to better understand this classification. The speaker looked uncertainly at Jae-hyun, who nodded. Representative Gonzalez, you may approach. Elena walked to the center of the chamber. Unlike most delegates who required atmospheric assists or gravity compensators, she moved easily in the standard council environment. A Death World classification? She asked with a slight smile. That seems rather dramatic. We just call it home. The chamber fell silent. Jae-hyun cleared his throat nervously. Representative Gonzalez, this is not an honor, he explained carefully. It means your planet is considered lethal to nearly all Council species. Yes, I understand the definition, Elena replied cheerfully. It just seems strange from our perspective. We consider Earth quite hospitable. Her casual dismissal of the classification disturbed many delegates. If humans evolved on a death world yet considered it paradise, what did that imply about their species? 3 days later, the first joint military exercise between Council forces and human soldiers began on Training Moon Alpha. The artificial environment was designed to test cooperation between species in standard conditions. Admiral Suho watched from the observation deck as the soldiers ran through basic drills. The differences were immediately apparent. Council troops moved with precision and discipline. Human troops moved with raw power and endurance. Remarkable specimens, noted military advisor Bowman. They've been exercising for 3 hours without rest. In gravity, 20% stronger than their homeworld, added Suho. During the chemical weapons defense drill, an unexpected malfunction released a small amount of paralytic gas near the human squad. Council commanders immediately ordered an evacuation, but before the emergency teams could respond, the humans had already dragged their affected comrades to safety. The gas concentration was above lethal threshold, Medical Officer Ju Hyun reported with disbelief. Yet they recovered within minutes. That evening, Council military strategists gathered to discuss their observations. They're not just survivors, Admiral Suho concluded grimly. They're apex predators who don't know it. Should we be concerned? Asked General Minji. I'm not sure, Suho admitted. They've shown no aggression toward Council worlds, but their capabilities are unsettling. While military leaders worried, scientific cooperation brought unexpected benefits. A diplomatic reception on Centauri Prime took a dramatic turn when Ambassador Dongyun collapsed suddenly. His breathing labored. Anaphylactic shock, diagnosed the Centauri medical team. His atmospheric regulator has failed. As they prepared emergency treatment, human Dr. Patel stepped forward. May I? She asked, opening her medical kit. We have extensive experience with allergic reactions. Using techniques developed for Earth's harsh conditions, Dr. Patel stabilized the ambassador before the Centauri equipment could even be calibrated. How did you know what to do? Asked the astonished Centauri physician. On Earth, allergic reactions are common, she explained. Children learn basic treatment before they leave primary school. News of the incident spread rapidly. Soon, several Council species began cautiously adopting human medical innovations, treatments designed for a world where danger lurked everywhere. In Council chambers, the philosophical debates intensified. If humans had evolved on such a dangerous world, what did that reveal about evolution itself? Perhaps we have been wrong, suggested philosopher Jin Young during a widely broadcast lecture. We assumed that advanced species would evolve on safe worlds, free from environmental pressures. But humans suggest the opposite may be true. Struggle may be the catalyst for advancement. Meanwhile, in a secure military installation, Admiral Suho reviewed the latest human physical assessment data. Higher bone density, redundant organ systems, rapid cellular regeneration, he read aloud. And they consider themselves fragile compared to some Earth species. What does this mean for Council security? Asked his aide. Admiral Suho stared out the window at the stars. It means we must rethink everything we believed about survival, evolution, and potential threats, and we must do it quickly. On Earth, oblivious to the concern they caused across the galaxy, humans continued their daily lives in an environment that would kill most other sentient beings within hours. The emergency transmission from Colony Epsilon reached Council headquarters at 0317 Standard Time. The control room fell silent as the message played on the main screen. A terrified colony administrator appeared, coughing violently as greenish fog swirled around him. Takari forces have breached our defenses, he gasped. They're using some kind of atmospheric weapon. Our people are dying. Please send... The transmission cut off abruptly. Admiral Suho stared at the blank screen, then turned to his assembled staff. Options? The Takari are using toxin-based weapons, reported Intelligence Officer Junho. Our sensors detect chlorine derivatives, nerve, agents, and biological contaminants. Can our troops operate in those conditions? Suho asked. Defense Coordinator Minji shook her head. Standard environmental suits won't protect them. The toxin concentration is too high. So Colony Epsilon is lost, Suho concluded grimly. Not necessarily, said a new voice. All heads turned toward the doorway. General Olivia Chen of the Human Defense Force stood there. Though she had only observer status at council military meetings, protocol allowed her to speak in emergency situations. With respect, Admiral, Chen continued, my people could help. Your people? Suho asked, confused. How? These toxins appear similar to industrial pollutants we've handled before, Chen explained, studying the chemical readouts. Our soldiers could operate in that environment with minimal protection. You would volunteer for this? Asked Ambassador Jinwoo incredulously. Chen nodded firmly. This is what allies do. 48 hours later, 500 human soldiers arrived at the staging point near Colony Epsilon. Admiral Suho watched in amazement as they prepared for deployment. While council troops would have required sealed environmental suits with external oxygen supplies, the humans wore only lightweight masks with filtration systems and simple protective clothing. Those won't stop all the toxins, warned Medical Officer Ju Hyun. They don't need to stop everything, explained Human Captain Lee. Just reduce exposure to manageable levels. Our bodies can handle the rest. The first wave of human soldiers landed on Epsilon's main continent at dawn. Council commanders watched nervously through drone footage as the troops moved through green-tinged fog that dissolved conventional armor on contact. The Takari, confident in their environmental advantage, had not prepared for direct combat. Their psychological warfare strategy, using weapons that created terror through suffering, failed completely against enemies who treated deadly conditions as merely inconvenient. They're advancing through Sector 4, reported Tactical Officer Hana with disbelief. That area registered toxin levels 5 times the lethal dose. On the ground, Human Sergeant Kim led his squad through the fog-shrouded streets of the main colony. Several soldiers coughed or showed skin irritation, but none fell back. Building clear, Kim reported after checking another structure. 7 survivors found preparing for medical evacuation. Using techniques developed for industrial accidents on Earth, the human medics treated exposed colonists with antidotes, carried in their field kits. Survivors watched in awe as their rescuers operated in conditions that had killed so many of their friends and family. On the 5th day, Kim's squad encountered heavy Takari resistance near the colony's power plant. The alien invaders had fortified the position, expecting the toxic environment to keep enemies at bay. Instead, they faced human soldiers who charged directly through chemical barriers. They're not stopping, a Takari commander hissed in disbelief as the humans advanced. What kind of creatures are these? By the 7th day, Takari forces began surrendering. Their psychological advantage neutralized, they could not match the humans in direct combat. 2 days later, Colony Epsilon was secured. The cost was not small. 63 humans died and nearly all suffered some effects from toxin exposure. But compared to the total loss Council forces would have faced, it was considered a miracle. Indeed, the aftermath, Council military doctrine underwent radical revision. Admiral Suho personally recommended the creation of specialized human response units for environmental crises. Training facilities were constructed on Earth, where Council species could safely observe techniques developed on humanity's Deathworld. Our galaxy has changed, Suho told the Council Assembly. For millennia, we believed that advanced civilizations would arise on safe, peaceful worlds. We were wrong. The humans show us that adversity breeds strengths we can barely comprehend. 3 years after first contact, Captain Minsu stood on the observation deck of Earth Training Base Alpha, watching a human instructor lead a group of Council trainees through terrain exercises in the region called Australia. Despite the controlled environment and safety measures, most trainees struggled with Earth's gravity, heat, and atmospheric composition. A young Aldebaran cadet approached him, eyes wide behind her protective visor. Her species evolved on a cold world with thin atmosphere and minimal pathogens. "Captain," she asked hesitantly, "how do the humans endure such a hostile environment without showing fear?" Nearby, Instructor Rivera overheard the question. The human woman smiled as she adjusted her simple breathing mask, worn only to filter regional allergens that might affect her personally. "This?" she laughed, gesturing at the sun-baked landscape around them. "This is nothing. You should see where we vacation for fun." In that moment, Captain Minsu understood something profound. Humans hadn't just survived their death world, they had embraced it, conquered it, loved it. And now, that same resilience made them the perfect guardians for more fragile species across the galaxy. The cosmic joke was complete. The species from a death world had become the galaxy's greatest protectors,